Coming to you from the poop deck of the USS Moynihan, this is Pop Satellite, and I am James Nimmons, and this is my friend Dave Ward.
Ooh, I'm laughing right now. I'm sorry.
I took the time to say your name too because you were busy.
Yeah, laughing.
So, which thing do we want to start with first? Or we want to start with that wicked Transformers trailer?
Oh, Bumblebee, yo, dude, that's what the Transformers should have been from when they started the live action movies. Well, you know, Michael Bay dumps on everything anyway,
yes,
and then he claims, oh, the horror that he's making movies for 17-year-old boys. You don't even do that well, Michael. Okay, you suck. Period. So, you know, after completely ruining the Transformers for how many movies now?
A lot of movies.
A lot of movies.
I'm turning my gain up here. See what I can. My sound waves look crunched like yours were looking the other day.
Yeah, it's okay though. It's
okay.
It's because your voice is quieter than mine.
All right, as long as I don't sound far away.
No, you won't sound far away.
I just noticed you were clipping a little bit. But anyway, back to this thing.
But yeah, the Bumblebee, it's, Michael Bay, of course, has crapped on so much as far as the Transformers goes. And
no one wants to watch this trailer. I had to ask you 3 times.
Yeah, he did, actually.
Yeah.
But when I finally watched it, I'm impressed because, number one, no Michael Bay. And 2, the way they have done the Transformers actually looks like I'm watching a live-action interpretation of the cartoon.
Yep.
As they should have been to begin with.
They look beautiful.
Yes. You got Peter Cullen. You heard Peter Cullen's voice in there for Optimus. So
Bumblebee's a yellow bug.
Yeah, he's a old bug. And then, a couple of the Decepticons that we saw Starscream.
Yes.
Soundwave.
Looking like themselves in every detail.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Shockwave.
I'm hoping Megatron makes an appearance.
Oh, you know he's gonna.
As a gun, as he's supposed to be.
Yeah, you know he's gonna.
He better be a gun. That's all I'm saying.
They use atomic powers to change size and mass. That's why he can shrink down like that and let loose a nasty blast.
Well, also, there was a couple of Decepticons in there that were double changers, I saw.
Triple changers.
Or triple changers, yeah. Going from, a Dodge Challenger, I think, to a jet.
Some kind of jet and then robot.
And, I think it was a dune buggy or something into a helicopter. So, that's an interesting twist, but it's still done in that style, that same OG style.
Didn't you say they had Thundercracker? Yeah, you listed Thundercracker.
I may have. I've lost where I was looking at it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
But no, this is actually, it's due out Christmas apparently. Going to be one to go see if you're an old Transformers fan and you are absolutely disgusted like we have been over Michael Bay just ruining a franchise. This looks like a breath of fresh air. I hate it when people go, but it made so much money. Yeah, every piece of crap makes money when people, they shove it down your throat and tell you it's the next cool thing and it's the only Transformers you're going to have. But, this kind of spirit led to 2 video games, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, which programmers were working on a Michael Bay Transformers game, and they went, we need to make a real Transformers game. Yeah, they realized that Michael Bay's interpretations were bad.
So they made those 2 games, and they went off the charts. And man, there's just so many fans for the newer movies. This is going to be a big clash. So I see a lot of arguments coming down the pipe about Transformers, and it's
what I hope is that these new fans will actually go and watch it and see what the Transformers were actually supposed to be like and go, oh, that's even better.
Yeah, well, that old show is hard to take unless you have a childhood connection to it because of its production value, I like to watch it and laugh at its production value sometimes.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was made in the 80s, but it still holds
the voice
its
acting
value.
is what sold the Transformers. They had top rate voice acting.
At least they went into GoBots.
Yeah, GoBots was just
I mean, seriously.
some of the GoBots had brains in them. Ugh.
But all joking aside, it was 80s cartoons, and that was probably like the last real heyday of like original cartoons because we grew up with a mix of the old stuff, the old Looney Tunes and stuff, and like the stuff that Hanna-Barbera did in the 70s.
I can't wait to see a revival of Thundar the Barbarian. I know someone's going to do it.
It's coming probably.
If not, I'll have to make it myself.
Or She-Ra,
They're doing She-Ra. There's a problem with She-Ra. If you look up anything about She-Ra right now, the new design, she looks like a dude, a young boy in in a bra.
Great.
That barely, fits. And she just looks dumbed down and kind of silly.
Or, let's remake.
She's got that Brienne of Tarth thing going on.
Let's find somebody that can do He-Man correctly.
Yeah, well, the new He-Man they did for a while was awesome.
Well, I meant like in a movie.
Oh, yeah, in a movie. Well, first we'd have to get some sort of support for a cartoon or a TV show. A live-action TV show He-Man would be awesome.
Masters of the Universe, come on now. That was one of that was in that
we have
80s.
the technology now.
That was in that 80s era, along with the Transformers and Voltron, and
yes, He-Man was there to give you your kids morals when you were
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, G.I. Joe. I learned
the
not
Galaxy
to judge
Rangers.
people
If anybody remembers the Galaxy Rangers,
that was a great show. I learned not to judge people who were different from me by G.I. Joe from a G.I. Joe cartoon.
Knowing is half the battle.
It wasn't even one of those parts. It was where Cobra took over television for a while. Extensive Enterprises took over all the television broadcasts, and there was a show about these bears, and these two blue bears are picking on a red bear. And then, like, later on, you see when TVs turn back to normal, they're like, we should get along. And I'm like, yeah, different people should get along. That's what the 80s was about. Different people getting along. Not anymore.
No, everybody's at each other's throats. So we've kind of like, isn't that backwards?
I mean, because like the stuff that the guy that's doing the rumored new Red Sonja, Bryan Singer. I mean, he's done a lot of movies, and he had some trouble, but hopefully it won't get in the way of his plans to do a Red Sonja movie.
Now,
it looks like it's going to happen.
That would be cool. Kind of wonder who they would actually get to play Red Sonja herself.
Oh, casting a movie is so much fun.
Yeah, because I mean, like, no offense to Brigitte Nielsen or Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you're both old.
I'm for Gina Carano.
Yeah, I mean that's a good choice. I mean, she's Italian, so you'd have to dye her hair red.
Put a wig on her, something.
You'd have to dye her hair red, basically.
Whatever. Millions of dollars at stake here.
She would be because she's a fighter. She's a women's MMA fighter.
And
so yeah,
Muay Thai fighter, and she has a record to uphold in MMA.
Well, I think she retired from MMA. That's when she started doing movies, and she fought Colossus in Deadpool.
Yeah, she looked great doing it too, and I thought she should have been Wonder Woman.
That's it's funny how you look at Gal Gadot outside of the movie, and she's a small girl.
Mm-hmm. She's petite.
So she would not be a good Red Sonja just because of how small she is. I mean, she's pushing it as Wonder Woman.
But who was the person? Oh man, she played the princess in John Carter of Mars.
Let me see.
I wanted her as Wonder Woman as well, but she would make a great Red Sonja because she was fighting with a sword and armor a lot in that. See, when you watch things, pretend that they're other things, and then you go, "Wow, yeah, this would make a good other thing." I saw her in the armor. I'm like, whoa! What if she was playing Wonder Woman in this, or Xena? She can make a great new Xena.
Lucy Lawless is, I think she's 50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see her doing Red Sonja.
Maybe. I mean, if it would have to be something like at the end of Red Sonja's career. She's been doing it a while.
I don't know.
I want to see a Red Sonja in her 30s, not in her 50s. Like you're supposed to be. In her prime. In her Optimus Prime.
I'm trying to look up this John Carter movie because I can't remember this actress's name to save my life.
Yeah. John Carter Mars.
Right, yeah, we're talking about the...
She plays Princess Ellie. Well, the original story was Princess of Mars. Alitia, Princess of Mars. Alita or Alitia, Princess of Mars. If you want to find the book.
John Carter, 2012. There we go, IMDb. Thank you.
It was a great movie, and too bad it kind of flopped because it had no support.
Yeah, you can get it for $2.99 on Amazon. Looks like it's got an overall 6.6 rating, which isn't terrible.
It's a great movie. I liked it a lot.
I mean, Willem Dafoe's in it. Come on
Yes.
now. All right, let's see here. Deja Thoris, is that it?
Yes, Deja Thoris.
Lynn Collins. That's the actress's name.
I wonder if she's related to
Hang on.
Joan Collins.
Lynn Collins, she is 40. She's born in 77. So,
She's got my vote.
well, if 40-something-year-old actress has your vote, then, I'll go with Lucy Lawless.
Lucy Lawless could play her teacher.
No, she could do it.
I don't know. Don't know.
It's fun to speculate. Arnold was in that movie too, so
Yeah, see, he couldn't play himself.
No.
He's falling apart.
He's doing some kind of corny and funny movies here recently since he's not a governor anymore and he's gotten divorced. So I'm sure he's having to pay Maria. I'm sure he's having to pay Maria a bunch of alimony for his infidelities.
I won't be back.
But I don't know. Some of them have been pretty decent. Yeah, but as far as stuff like him being in the Terminator movie again, I don't.
I'll watch him in a Terminator movie. He's just got to be like a robot. He's got like metal joints and stuff now, so he's even closer to being a Terminator.
Yeah, let's watch the first Terminator heart attack on
Let's suspend my
screen.
disbelief, and watch him be a Terminator.
That's another franchise that could do with some vision and some direction that just kind of lost its way.
Well, again, I go to the comic book world because in Terminator comic books, they took it to the world of the future, where the battle is really bad.
I mean, that's fine and good, but they, Hollywood, man, they don't follow
They
crap
dipped their
that
toe
way.
in that, and it sucked.
Yeah, I mean, they just they pick apart shit and then what they mishmash together makes no sense when you go to watch it and you're like, I'm supposed to believe this?
Yeah, they do mess up. I don't know. The writer's strike of the early 2000s never ended. Something weird is going on. Because I just noticed, I'm like, wow, bad writing everywhere. Bad writing. Why did I take those writing classes?
Bad writing, bad everything. When I'm sorry to say, I'm not on the Big Bang Theory bandwagon. That show is terrible.
I watched 8 seasons of it.
That show's terrible. It's a bad representation of.
Well, of course, it's fiction. Those people aren't even really geeks.
That's what I'm saying.
Sheldon doesn't even know a thing about Star Trek.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And
Jim Parsons.
Yeah, putting Will Wheaton in there was not any help either. It's just
it helped Will Wheaton.
Well, I'm sure it did, but that's again, that's the idiot masses buying into what they think nerds are like, and it's not true.
I think it's just greasy kid stuff. It's good, clean fun. Making fun of nerds.
Never liked it.
This is what nerds' lives are like. Nerds are 40-year-old men who would act like 15-year-olds and live together and work at the
right
science places. And getting grants from universities.
Guess what? That's not the case.
No. You know, it doesn't take a lot to be a nerd. It just takes a passion for something, anything, and you're a nerd.
It just happens to be fandom has a foothold on it because we're the ones that got beat up for it.
Yeah, and then the Big Bang Theory put it in the limelight and made everybody, aww. And now everybody wants to go to Comic-Con. But wait, they don't want it as it is. They want new rules to protect themselves from seeing boobies and hearing cuss words.
Yes, let's just suck the fun right out of everything.
And all the people that used to come before understood and explained to their children what was going on. And
or they didn't bring their kids at all.
Nobody was traumatized. Not until the public got involved.
All the gawkers and the thrill seekers and everybody wanting to see what this is all about.
Let the public have San Diego Comic-Con, New York City Comic-Con. There are other cons to go to, big ones. You know, like not giants like those, but like big enough to get lost in a sea of really interesting people.
I'm not even gonna lump Dragon Con in with that anymore.
No, not anymore.
We've had that discussion though.
It's just too big.
Yeah,
it's much too big. As Vegeta said.
Too big, like WWE too big.
Excuse me.
Speaking of which, I was just reading right here, Matt Hardy released a statement on his retirement.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he finally retiring?
Yeah, apparently his pelvis and lower back have been giving him a whole lot of problems, and he's finally hanging it up. So...
Dang.
He's thanking all of his fans and everything. It's like, yeah, that stuff takes a toll. I mean, I see a Hell in a Cell match with Triple H and The Undertaker, and I'm like, who's going to fall apart first? I mean, let's count the injuries between the two of them. And this is just the times that I watched them. You know, I remember a match. I remember that Triple H and Mick Foley did a damn hardcore match, like it was, you know, Japanese death match style, with, you know, the exploding stuff and the barbed wire, you know, ropes and all of that, and they were tearing the hell out of each other. And then I remember Triple H landed wrong on a fall, and I saw his right knee go one way and his lower leg go another way, and I'm like, how is this man standing up? Because he's in visible pain. And I'm not just talking about what he just did to himself with him and Mick Foley. I'm like, his knee is not where it should be. You have
like
that.
Horse kicked it around.
But then you have that, and then we're going back to Mick Foley with The Undertaker, that damn cage match, that triple high cage match where
Straight to hell!
Where Foley fell 3 stories.
He fell straight to hell.
What?
The announcer said.
Yeah. And then they're carrying him out on a stretcher. What does this crazy fool do? He gets up with a tooth hanging out of his sinus cavity.
That's a man.
From where he landed. I mean, like, he's delirious, and he gets back in the ring, even freaking out Mark Calloway at this point, because everybody, including him, thinks the match is done.
Imagine if he
all you young fans need to go look this match up if you haven't seen it. That's one of the best Hell in the Cells there are. But Foley finished the match. It was one of the most bonkers. It was one of the most bonkers things I had ever seen in wrestling, and I don't even think they were prepared for it.
I've seen him take all kinds of cuts and beatings and shit set on fire.
Oh no! Look at the old Japanese death matches him and Terry Funk had.
Yes, crazy stuff. They worship Terry Funk over there.
Oh man!
But imagine if this person were ever to get angry at you. Because he's a nice, easygoing, sort of gentle
He's
fellow.
very intelligent. I mean, he writes children's books.
Yeah. So imagine, though, if you did something to make him snap, and he can take all that pain and all that damage without being stopped, and he just keep coming. That's a good horror movie waiting to happen. Somebody needs to make that movie. Speaking of horror movies, I don't know if I classify this as a horror movie or not, but we'll say it's a subgenre of horror called revenge movies. Where, a character gets revenge, like I Spit on Your Grave. Something horrific happens, and then the character gets revenge. But Nick Cage is in this movie called Mandy, and holy crap, do they do it right. It's kind of a grindhouse sort of feeling. It's set in 1983.
Oh, nice.
And they put the same work into it as like Stranger Things puts into their setting, like, you know, down to the
Stranger Things is so good.
you know, down to the vinyl flooring and the tiles in the bathroom and all the fuzzy seats on the toilets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have not watched this yet, by the way, and I don't care if he's even spoiling it because I've got to watch it.
No, I'm not spoiling anything. I was just taken aback by these details. You know, I'm like, wow, the setting.
Well,
great.
with it being, you know, Halloween coming up and horror movie season, I guess we should scope some horror movies out and give them a watch and see how the whole genre is doing.
Let's involve whoever might be listening to write in at this address. That's psycher840@gmail.com. Or you got an address you want them to write you at?
No, that one's
okay.
fine.
Psycher840@gmail.com. I'll put a graphic up here. And suggest some movies that you might want us to watch and get our opinions on. We do like some horror movies now. I mean, we go a ways back to childhood enjoying horror movies, and we go to horror conventions all the time. So
absolutely.
We will ignore suggestions that are just right out of the box stuff like, you know, I've seen already. Like, I'm not going to watch The Exorcist. I'm not going to watch Night of the Living Dead.
We're not going to watch any of the Scream movies. We're not going to watch any of the Saw movies.
Yeah, just something weird, okay? Just something out of the way, something you've seen that's freaked you out that you think we should watch and talk about. So get cracking on that if you're listening.
But there was one that we had a guest writer write a review of. Let me look this up. I forgot. We have submissions at Nerd Nation galore.
Still burn, dead space, dead space. I filled up the dead space there.
Oh, whatever. So, Happy Time Murders looks good. Hereditary is another one that is apparently really good. The lady that reviewed this one for us said it was more of an auditory horror movie. Like they focused a whole lot on like the background sounds and stuff. It's not the jump factor, but it's like the psychological thing that you have from
like
anticipating
things are creeping up behind you.
Let's see. She calls it. She called it a disturbing experience, but you have the. She's like, it's not a typical shock and awe film. She says, like the sounds of a tongue clicking on the roof of a mouth, the sound of a skull being smashed against a light post, the sound of a mother screaming in agony is heard from within her quiet house. Someone pounding on a closed door that's actually a face being beaten against wood. So stuff like that.
Splat.
Like, yeah, they took the time to really dig into the auditory experience as far as what terrifies you in a movie. So that one would be another good one to check out.
My opinion on Mandy is, I was like, okay, Nick Cage is in this. This is going to be at least entertaining, fun to make fun of. But this movie just went heavy metal at about the 1 hour mark. Now, I'm not spoiling anything other than this. No, this is not content that is spoiled. But when you're watching the movie for the first hour and then you see the title, you're clued in that what you just watched was a 1 hour intro and now the movie has actually begun.
Oh, wow.
And when that happens, it just turns into something very metal. It's a metal revenge movie without metal music. Just watch it. If you're a metalhead sort of horror movie fan, it's really good. I mean, there is some really good Nick Cage action in this one.
You know, that's sort of a genre that kind of fell by the wayside in like the mid to late 90s, was that type of horror movie, that heavy metal, like aggro, like mind trip type horror movies. You know, stuff like Brain Scan. That's one that comes to mind, an old Eddie Furlong movie.
Or Ghost in the Machine.
Well, yeah, the live action of that, or even like Event Horizon. Event Horizon, like, wow, that movie will just so mess with your head.
Dr. Weir. I thought it was weird that his name was Dr. Weir. It's so close to being weird. I was like, yeah, he's Dr. Weird.
And that's funny because there's a Dr. Weir in Stargate Atlantis as well.
Oh, yeah, well, he stays alive, doesn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very versed on Stargate Atlantis.
It's actually good. It was better than SG-1, I thought.
Well, I loved SG-1. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But that's long ago. Nobody cares about it anymore.
Well, El Rey still runs it.
Oh, yeah. Well, doesn't El Rey still run like Hardcastle and McCormick?
Dude, El Rey runs a lot of good
Magnum PI.
good old sci-fi shows. That's Robert Rodriguez's channel.
My roommate is watching a lot of Simon and Simon right now.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
We're not going that far back
She's
now.
all about some Simon and Simon, man.
No. Yeah, no. We're not going that far back now.
Yeah, whatever.
That was horrifying that you even remember all that.
I hear the theme song all the time in the living room as I move through the house. I hear Simon and Simon.
Your roommates.
I'm like, can't you get into Riptide or Miami Vice or something? Or Hunter? I'll watch Hunter with you.
Oh, there was... Speaking of these types of shows, and there has been a reboot that actually looks pretty good. The new Magnum PI. The premiere was last night.
Who's playing Magnum PI?
I don't even remember the actor's name. I just remember it was better than the football game that was going on because...
Does he have a mustache?
No, he does not.
Shut.
But he still drives Ferraris and he's still in Hawaii. It's actually good. I like the pilot, so I have high hopes for it. If you were a fan of the old school Magnum PI show, give it a watch. Give the pilot a watch. Think you'll be pleased.
Sorry. I liked Magnum PI when I was 13.
Well, Tom Selleck did a really good job. That was a good show.
Yeah, it was just one summer where it came on in the afternoon when nobody was doing anything. So I would just catch Magnum PI in an episode of Batman, and then everybody would come back out and play.
Or you see, you also had Magnum PI, and then the A-Team, and then
yes,
what else? Airwolf,
and Street Hawk.
Yeah,
fucking Street Hawk. And Automan, which came on in like the early '80s.
Yeah,
which is something I'd like to see.
Now we're showing our age here, folks.
Yeah, that Automan needs to be rebooted.
Airwolf wouldn't be bad rebooted if they did it correctly.
Be a souped up, like, super stealth Apache. Because we have stuff that's better than Airwolf now.
We got stuff that, like...
Apaches can do a flip, just like Airwolf. And they got way more weapons than Airwolf has. They have a lot of sunbursts.
Well, what I liked about Airwolf was, like, the back part of it, not the pilot front. Because, like, it was just like this giant... command center bank that he sat at back there,
oh God, our oil's low. string.
Ernest Borgnine's position.
Oh, what was it? Not Scorzini Air, Santini.
Yeah.
Air.
Yeah.
It's just that got creepy when Dick Van Dyke Robot came aboard. That was really creepy.
Yeah, that was strange.
I can't remember that storyline, but they were being harassed by people trying to get into the volcano. But we're at the 28-minute mark, so.
But at least I mean, so like as far like as Magnum PI, it at least it's not them trying to reboot MacGyver.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about that.
Awful.
Just a good try, fellas. Good try, whatever.
No, that was not even a good try. That was garbage.
Well, if you have any input on anything we've discussed or want to send us hate mail, here is that email address again. And so if you have any ideas, if you've liked what you've heard, write us, hit the bell. If you're watching this on YouTube, listening to it, like and subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we do a new video. And don't worry, you'll see our faces sooner or later if you dig around here. I'm sure you'll find some of our interviews, but there'll be more of that coming up as the con season picks up.
Yep, like the next con that we're doing, honestly, is in December. That's going to be at Jekyll Island, Georgia, and Hyde Horror Alley, which is, I mean, South Georgia on the ocean, early December, you could be in worse places.
Yeah, it might be a little warm down there, so check that out, Jekyll Island Comic-Con. Google that. And that about does it for this episode.
We'll come at you next week with some more shenanigans.
Yeah, you navigate the internet safely.